Let's talk about wastewater reuse and why it matters. So at the end of 2023, a bunch of municipalities along the Wasatch Front filed applications to try to reuse their wastewater. And the reason why a bunch of them did it at this time was because a new rule had just come into effect, which requires municipalities to identify a source of replacement water for the wastewater that they want to reuse. So the reason for that new rule was to protect a source of inflow into Great Salt Lake. So treated wastewater represents a substantial amount of water that currently flows to Great Salt Lake. By reusing that wastewater, these cities would accelerate the drying of the lake. Friends of Great Salt Lake reviewed these applications and filed a legal challenge to a number of them coming from Utah County. Friends of Great Salt Lake, doing great work here, is trying to make sure that these permits did not get approved and reduce inflows to Great Salt Lake. So this can be a bit of a tricky issue since wastewater reuse is an example of conservation. So that is an example of efficient water use. But the result of reusing that wastewater, again, is reduced inflows to Great Salt Lake. I didn't look at the applications themselves, but Friends of Great Salt Lake says that these municipalities, the water that they were trying to reuse totals about 150,000 acre feet of water. That's a substantial amount of water. It's a lot of water. And they say that it is being looked at as a source of secondary water, primarily for irrigation. I read that as lawns. So it's important to pay attention to these sorts of things. I think stuff like this flies under the radar, and we have to be conscious of how additional water usage is going to continue to threaten Great Salt Lake. You know, wherever it's coming from. I feel like urban usage is kind of largely gotten a pass, and there isn't as much scrutiny on municipal and industrial water usage.